You are listening to The Empowered Advocate, a podcast from Greensboro Pregnancy Care Center. Hey guys, welcome back to The Empowered Advocate. I'm Mary Holloman, and I'm here today with Deanna Jewell. Say hi, Deanna.
Hi, I'm back.
So today we're going to jump right into it. We're going to be talking a little bit about some common myths associated with pregnancy resource centers. And I think this is very timely because in February, an article recently came out from Cosmopolitan, and they did this whole long article, and we have it right here. The name of it is Fake Health Clinics Are Tricking College Students. Yeah. And so Deanna and I were talking about this a little bit. And we felt like it was something that needed to be addressed because some of these things this article claims that pregnancy centers are doing are pretty startling. And so I'm sure if anyone would read this, especially college students, they might have some negative thoughts about Greensboro Pregnancy Care Center. So we want to talk about that a little bit today. So before we get started, we do just want to say, and this is something Deanna and I talked about before, but we are speaking on behalf of Greensboro Pregnancy Care Center. So we know that there's over, 2,500 pregnancy centers?
So.
Yeah, in the United States. And so we know that there are probably some scenarios that clients have encountered that maybe don't best represent most pregnancy centers. So we totally get that. But we're speaking on behalf of the Greensboro Pregnancy Care Center today, and got some great questions for Deanna so she can share what really happens behind the doors of a care center. So we're going to jump right in, and basically we're just going to kind of go through this article and talk about some of the objections that this article brings up. So first, Deanna, so on our first page here, it jumps right in, and it gives an example of a client who went in, and it says this: while her STI tests were prepared, a staffer gave her an iPad loaded with a slideshow that featured graphic images of botched abortions and untreated STIs. They showed me gruesome photos and told me sex is bad and abortion is bad. At one point, they asked her to sign a chastity pledge. I left that place crying, and she said that she was no way going to go back. So that some of the things that stick out that are really painted in a negative way are the care center showed graphic photos and told the client sex is bad, abortion is bad. So maybe, Deanna, speak to that a little bit. If a client came to us, would that be something they would experience? And if not, what would they experience instead?
Yeah. As far as the graphic images of botched abortions and untreated STDs, I know that we don't have any graphic images that we show clients for either of those things. I do know that the nurses on staff have looked up those images and have charts and information with that information on there as far as the STDs go, just because I think that's probably something we all even learned back in health class in high school. It's just educating them on what the potential there is, that risk there when you have an STD. But I don't, typically our nurses are not showing those. And if they were going to show them, it would be asking permission of, hey, you do have, if they came back for treatment, let's say for chlamydia, and maybe they could say, hey, if you didn't get treated for this, this could be a result, but we're treating you here today. So, just keep in mind, if you continue to have risky sex, this could be a result. But we don't use graphic images here for either of those things.
Right. Yeah. So what about this sex is bad?
Yeah.
Sorry, a lot of things in this article are
She's
really
laughing because it's not. That's hilarious.
I know, it's so funny.
Yeah.
No, but in all honesty, when clients come in, I think there is this kind of impression of pregnancy centers that we're telling clients, don't ever have sex, it's bad. Yeah. Run away from it, is evil, sort of thing. Do Christians believe that sex is bad?
Yeah. No. So I would say actually that I would beg to differ that Christians have the best sex of anybody else because they are typically having it in marriage, which is where you can have the best sex of your life because you don't have to worry about somebody that is having sex with other partners, with
Right.
other people. So we were just talking about STDs. There's no risk for that. And just that emotional and spiritual connection that you make in sex when you're only having it with one partner for years, for forever, the rest of your life, then that just grows exponentially, and you can find security and freedom in that type of a sex relationship that you can't find when you're with a partner that's not monogamous, that could potentially be infected.
Right.
So yeah, I would beg to differ that Christians actually have the best sex of anybody.
Yeah, I have never talked to anyone, any pro-life organization that's ever said sex is bad, but I think what the message is, sex outside of marriage is not the healthiest option for you. It's not the best option for you. And what we care about at the Pregnancy Center is what's best for the woman. So I think that's a misconception that many people have.
Right.
What about this idea, and I know we'll get more into this throughout the article, but it says right up front, they told me sex is bad and abortion is bad.
Sure.
And it's written in a very negative way. So what's our view on abortion? What are we telling clients about abortion?
Yeah. So same with sex, right? That I think that the best thing for our clients to do is to have sex inside of marriage so that they're not at risk emotionally, spiritually, mentally, and physically. So same with abortion, is that I just, here at the Care Center, we just don't believe that that's what's best for women. And we kind of talked about this last week of just, again, the physical, emotional, spiritual, and mental risks involved with abortion.
Right.
And so we believe that carrying to term and either parenting or placing for adoption is what's best for women holistically in that way. So I know, we both know lots of women who have had abortions, and there's love for them and freedom and grace for them in a relationship with Christ. And so, I don't think that's a great way of we're not in here telling clients, well, abortion is bad, we're coming at them, at it of, hey, that I just don't think that's what would be best for you.
Yeah, and telling the truth about abortion and
Right.
what it is. And
Right.
I think there's this idea that, if I'm told what abortion is and I'm told that it's not the healthiest thing for me,
Right.
and that it is ending the life of a human being, then somehow that is just how dare you tell me
Right.
things like that? And at the end of the day, we want to tell women the truth, but we want to tell them in love. And I think that's something that this article brings up a lot. I think there's definitely a wrong way to communicate truth, but I think when you do it in love, that's the best thing you can offer a person, because you have what's best for them in mind.
Right.
Okay, well, let's kind of go to some of the next things. It's on the second page of this article. It's actually this whole big paragraph chock full of stuff that's pretty interesting. So it says this. It says, care centers are often unlicensed, largely unregulated, and staffed mostly by volunteers versus doctors or nurses. Many use deceptive marketing, shame tactics, and incomplete or just plain wrong health info to make their case. Because they don't offer a full range of medical services or even birth control, they're not real clinics, and that may prevent a woman from getting the care she actually wants or needs. So let's talk about that.
It's loaded.
There's a lot of accusations there. But if they're true, we need to talk about it. Right. So often unlicensed, largely unregulated, staffed mostly by volunteers. Can you speak to that? Are those things that are true of Greensboro Pregnancy Care Center? And if not, what's actually the case for us?
Yeah, so I would say, as far as unlicensed, I'm not sure what specifically this author is referring to as far as unlicensed. We do have licensed nurses, registered nurses on our staff who are overseen by licensed medical doctors,
right,
at local OBs in this area in Greensboro. As far as unregulated, I'm not really sure what that's referring to as well. If that's referring to like our medications and things like that we would be, using for treatment. I know that we are, keeping record of all that, expiration dates, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And staffed mostly by volunteers. So again, in the last episode, we did talk about that we are volunteer led and supported by the staff. And so yes, we do have volunteers, but it says versus doctors and nurses. Well, every appointment involves a nurse.
Right.
So, at least for us here, again, like we said in the beginning of the episode, we can't talk for all care centers, but here at the care center, in every appointment, there is a registered nurse who is going through the medical questions with the client, answering any questions she may have. And then that's the person who, our nurses are the people who are performing the tests,
right,
and sending those off and doing all that paperwork.
I think that seems to be the implication too, that
right,
the volunteers are doing things that they should not be allowed to do. That seems to be kind of the vibe. And I think a lot of people assume that about pregnancy centers because we care so much about, don't have abortion, that we're willing to perform services that we're not supposed to perform almost.
And I think here we really want to filter people in their strengths. And so our nurses, obviously their strength is in the medical field and in that profession. And so they're using that. Well, our volunteers may not have that medical background or be able to perform in that way here at the care center and serve in that way, but they can serve of just being a friend.
Exactly.
And being somebody that they can just talk to and talk about life with, talk about God with, just talk about her situation and what kind of resources she may need, either here at the care center or in the community. That's something that a volunteer can do and is trained and equipped to be able to do that.
Absolutely. Well, what about this part here? It says they're not real clinics. They may prevent a woman from getting the care she actually wants or needs. So obviously we offer a certain amount of services. They're limited, in scope. Talk about that, about keeping a woman from getting the care she wants or needs.
Yeah.
So what do we do for women?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are very clear about what we do, what we don't do, both on the phone and online, because we want to be very upfront. I think as millennials, that's a big thing, is that if you're being sketchy or not telling me the truth, I'm not going to trust you. And so we try to be very upfront on our website, who we are not. And when a client calls us and says, hey, I would like an abortion, or how much is your abortion? The first thing out of our mouth is that we do not perform or refer for abortions. However, have you had your pregnancy verified anywhere yet? No, I just took a home test. Okay, well, we'd be glad to give you a proof of pregnancy done by a nurse for free. And so we'll kind of go the conversation from there. And sometimes they even ask follow-up questions. So you don't perform abortions? We don't, And so there's, depending on the phone call, kind of go through that. But we are very upfront and honest about who we are not. So I think, as far as we go here, I feel like we're very straightforward and honest.
Very upfront. And I can't think of ever a time where we would have prevented a woman from getting the care she needs. I think there's this disconnect here. I think a lot of times people view abortion as necessary. So this is something I need. And for one, we don't offer that service. So, there's organizations all over the city that only offer certain services. But we're upfront about that. But we also, if a woman actually does need care, like for example, if an ultrasound shows that maybe she needs to be seen further by a doctor, we're always going to refer her. We always refer out for services that we don't perform. So I think that's important to acknowledge too.
Yeah, we get phone calls. Every day. We were just talking before the podcast about a guy trying to figure out if this baby was his or not. And so we are constantly trying to get women and men even the care and services that they need in the community that we just can't offer here.
Yeah, we would never misconstrue what we offer just to get someone to do what we want. Absolutely not. Well, let's move on. I love the headline of this next section. This author is, creative. This is called Creeping on Campus. So just get that image in your head of someone creeping on campus. It's talking about how pregnancy centers a lot of the times will set up near a college or university campus, and in order to, I think the article says target their clients. And someone might read this and think, well, gosh, Greensboro Pregnancy Care Center is located right next to the campus. They are creeping on campus. How dare them? But talk quickly about that. Why would we want to be close to a college campus? Are we creepers?
I don't think so. So I want to be really sassy. And one of the people that I follow, she calls it biblical sass. And I feel like in this moment, that's what it would be. But so we are near campus because we want to be more available to our clients. I can't help myself. Heaven forbid we want to make it easier for clients to get to us, whether that be on bus or by foot. yeah, I didn't know that was a big issue to try to
I didn't either, but
find out who who's coming to you, which is what we did a few years ago. Okay, who's coming to us from what zip code? How can we make it easier so that it's not a barrier? So that
Absolutely.
we just talked about preventing women from getting the help that they need. Well, that was one of the things, is we were in a neighborhood where they weren't. And so that was preventing women from getting the help that they needed.
Right.
And so we moved where they were, near their college campus, so that they wouldn't have that barrier, and so that they could get the help that they needed.
Which makes perfect sense.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry we were
How
trying to help them out.
Yeah. Well, this has been really good so far. We're going to take a short break, and then we'll pick right back up and address some of these other common misconceptions about pregnancy centers. We'll see you in a second. All right, we're back, and we're continuing our conversation about common myths and misconceptions associated with pregnancy resource centers. And we're basing it off of this article that came out with Cosmopolitan in February it's titled How Pro-Life Health Clinics how pro-life centers are tricking college students, basically. So we're working our way through this article. Next up, this section of the article is called Peddling Medical Myths. So the implication is that pregnancy centers are saying things that are medically inaccurate in order to get clients to do what they want them to do.
Yeah.
So I'm going to look at this one particular quote here. It says, these groups, so pregnancy centers, these pregnancy centers' websites and pamphlets often list or exaggerate the medication's potential complications. So when it says medication, it's talking about the abortion pill. It exaggerates them about the complications and saying that these are rare. So kind of saying pregnancy centers talk too much about possible side effects or results of the abortion pill, and even go so far as to say, the abortion pill is safer than birth and than Tylenol in terms of side effects. So let's talk about that a little bit. What motivation would we have for sharing with clients about possible side effects and results of an abortion?
Yeah. So here even though we don't perform or refer for abortions, we don't believe that's what's best for a woman. We do if she is undecided, and so she's trying to figure out which option. So she's 3 options. So which one is best for her? We present all 3 of those. Or if she's saying, that's nice that you don't think abortion is best for me, but that's what I am choosing, that's what I think is best for my life, then definitely we want to talk to her about the abortion procedures and the risks involved. Again, those are holistic risks, and so there's going to be physical, emotional, spiritual, and mental risks. So the reason for doing that is because we want to make sure she's well equipped and empowered with all the information she needs on a choice that she's making. So just like, if I were to go get a procedure, I would want to be informed of, okay, what's it going to look like? What are possible complications? Even all the commercials with different, medications that they talk about, and they rumble off all the different things. And so it's
death,
You're like, oh, okay. And so we just want to make sure a woman is educated and empowered with the information that she needs, no matter what choice she makes, just so that she knows what to expect. And I think that's fair. Yeah,
I think that's what we would all hope anywhere we go to get any service. I mean, it doesn't have to be medical necessarily. We want to know what product we're getting. That's kind of a crass way of saying it, but I think we just want to be upfront, and that's what it looks like. It looks like a list. And I think what bothers people sometimes is that the things included on that list are pretty severe. It's possible you'll experience depression. It's possible you'll experience heavy bleeding or, whatever. And I think that makes people uncomfortable maybe at its core. And so it seems like we're exaggerating it or focusing on it. But the reality is, that's the reality. There are side effects associated with these procedures, and we want to be honest about that, because in our experience, I'm sure you see this a lot with our clients who have chosen abortion, we see that there's long-term effects from that, that a lot of these women are really hurt by it and do experience regret.
Yeah. One of the things that one of our nurses has started doing is a lot of us do know someone that's had an abortion. It's about 1 in 3 women that's had an abortion. And so just even asking our clients who are undecided or going to get an abortion, hey, do you know anybody, any friends or family that's had an abortion? Yeah, I do. Well, is that? Like, how has their life been after that choice? And even that has kind of opened it up to, oh yeah, like they were depressed. They started drinking. I mean, literally 2 weeks ago, the client told us that her sister started prostituting herself after that choice. And so it's like, even that of just saying, and that is a very, extreme case, but even just getting them to think about the people that they do know that have had abortions and just learn from them and hear from them. Hey, what was their experience like? It may not be the experience for you,
right?
But there's just that potential there. Just learn, get the facts that you need.
In this article and in others that I've read, I see this kind of it's frowned upon to encourage women to think too long about their choices. It's like, no, if they want it, give it to them now. Let them have abortion access right away. And it's just so interesting to me, like, why would we be opposed to encouraging women to think through their choices, to be fully informed? Like you said, I think there's so much benefit in that, like, not even just about abortion, but about any decision. Like, don't just, go with guns blazing, kind of think through your choice. Yeah. And that's what we're advocating for. We just want to, like, say, hey, let's sit down and talk about this, because most of the time there's layers of feelings going on underneath that decision that need to be kind of worked through. So, and
it's a permanent decision.
Yeah.
So it's definitely something you want to think about.
Absolutely.
And just take your time on.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about this next section. I love this title too. Deception on wheels. So talking about the mobile ultrasound units, and we happen to have one of those. So it talks about one of the quotes that says, these units allow the pregnancy center, to better target college students and low-income women. Okay, and then it goes on to say, these vans and RVs offer transvaginal ultrasounds, often without being licensed. Only 11% of pregnancy center volunteers are medical professionals. I think this is super misleading. So let's talk about that one phrase. So these vans, what's implied is that these mobile units are doing ultrasounds without licenses by volunteers who are mostly not medical professionals. Right. Let's talk about that. So
basically we're all seeing like the white creeper van, and we're just like sliding open the door.
Come on in. Yeah.
Got an ultrasound table back here.
I've never done this before. How do I use this?
We know that's what you're picturing at home, but that's not the situation.
Right.
Okay, so back to the question.
Say it again. So is that true? Like, I mean, honestly, this is saying that, like, people performing ultrasounds aren't certified to do so.
Yeah, so that is not true. None of our volunteers are performing our ultrasounds. And like I said before, they're not performing, the pregnancy test or even packaging, the STD test. They're not doing any medical practicing here.
Yeah, because that would not be,
a licensed medical professional. Yes.
Right.
I've definitely heard the whole, like, they just have people, throw on the jelly and doing ultrasounds, and that's not what's happening here. So all of our nurses and a sonographer have all gone to school and or training to be able to offer the services that they're providing for our clients.
Yeah, we take that pretty seriously. And just the way it's worded, it says only 11% of volunteers are medical professionals. Right. Maybe that's true, but the only people performing medical procedures are those medical professionals. I think that's important.
Which are on staff. So that's also kind of misleading,
Right. So there's volunteers who are not medical professionals, but they're not doing medical services, so they don't need to be medical professionals. So I think that's just important to point out. Because, you may have read something like this as you're listening and thought, oh, that seems kind of shady. Well, it's all in the wording, of the article. So, all right. So this next one, this is talking more about like marketing, and this is one of the last ones. I really like this one. I think it's funny. It says, a network of anti-choice consulting groups helps pregnancy centers with their social strategy, which often includes posting inspirational quotes on Facebook and Instagram. Man,
I thought we were all about inspirational quotes these days.
These consulting groups, they're so smart. They might also use social media ads and search engine optimization. This is on the rise, and it's a big part of how they reach young people.
Interesting.
This
see, biblical sass, it just naturally comes out.
So what are your thoughts on that? I have lots of thoughts on it from a communications standpoint, but what would be our incentive to try to reach clients? Sorry. It just feels silly, but what would be our incentive to utilize those kinds of tools to reach people?
Yes. So I think it goes back to, again, okay, who needs free pregnancy tests and ultrasounds and free STD testing and treatment? So we can look at the demographic in our community and see who those women are. And so, again, we don't want to make a barrier for women to receive those services.
Yeah.
We want what's best for women. And so the natural order of things nowadays in social media and all those things is to market to your audience. So if you start noticing, on Instagram, if you click on one clothing company or something like that you're interested in, then all of a sudden it's everywhere. And so because they know, oh, hey, that's a 20-something-year-old girl who's interested in shoes. So we're going to start marketing shoes because they know I'm going to buy them. So it's the same thing. We're going to try to reach our audience because we know that audience is who needs our services.
Right.
So I think you should talk more about it. Yeah, just marketing.
Well, it's just interesting to me, the tone of the article. They might also use social media ads and search engine optimization.
Right.
Like, how dare
right.
they try to use these things? And I think we're an organization, and in many ways we function as a business, honestly.
Right.
And part of any organization, they're going to try. They have people they offer services to. You're going to try to reach those people, like you were just saying. And so there's strategies for doing that. And so, of course, I would say 100% we do these things.
Yeah.
We use ads. We try to reach women. I think the disconnect here is assuming that we're trolling for people and trying to manipulate women. Yeah. And at the end of the day, our goal is our heart of what we do is that we love women. We don't believe abortion's best for them. We want to offer them a better way, and we want to help them. Yeah. We don't want to just give them a service and then kick them out the door. We want to walk with them before, during, and after an unplanned pregnancy. And one of the most strategic ways to let those women find us is just by being available. Right. Through things like social media.
Well, and it's like, who wants to go to a sketchy place that doesn't have a website, doesn't have a Facebook, doesn't, I'm sorry, we have Google reviews from real clients, that like the services that we offer. I'm not going to go to a place that doesn't have a website, that I can't read about who they are, what they do, that has no Google reviews. I don't think any of us, that goes back to the sketchy white van, so I think it would be more untrustworthy if we weren't out there. Just like anybody else.
Well, and we want to operate from a place of excellence too. Right. Just like you said, I'm not going to go to a place that is kind of wonky with the way that they function. So, I would say we do utilize those things, and it's because we want to be great at what we do.
Just like everybody else.
Yeah, for sure. Well, this last thing on this article that I want to point out, near the very end, it says this. It says, these fake clinics may look like the opposite of the in-your-face fetus pictures you see outside abortion clinics. And this is a woman talking. And she says, but they are the same people, just with better branding. So what would you say to that? Are we, and I think what's kind of being implied here is the people, the in-your-face fetus pictures people outside the abortion clinics, yelling, screaming,
right?
Being very in your face, it says. How are we the same as those people? She says we're the same, just different branding. So how would we differentiate ourselves from that kind of behavior? I guess.
I think unfortunately, with a lot of different groups, you can kind of get lumped in with people that you don't agree with. But it can kind of all be under the umbrella of pro-life or anti-choice, and it can kind of just all fall under that umbrella. So I think unfortunately sometimes care centers can get lumped in with those people that have the graphic signs and are yelling and doing things, but they are not the same people. So those people are not volunteering or on staff here at Greensboro Pregnancy Care Center. That's just not how we treat clients. That's not how we approach the subject of abortion. So we are not the same people.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, we don't want women to have abortion. I'd say we admit that 100%. We don't think it's best, and we want to offer alternatives to women. But at the same time, if a woman does choose abortion, we're not going to be in her face yelling at her, screaming at her. We welcome her back. We want to offer her abortion recovery. We want to help her. I think at the end of the day, we can say 100% that we believe that every unborn life has value and needs to be protected. and that every born human life has value. That woman, you know, the dad, everyone from birth to tomb, womb to tomb, you know, we think everyone matters and we want to stand up for them. So,
and I think it says a lot that even in just the last couple of months, we have had clients who have gotten abortions within the last few months and have already come back to us seeking just help and comfort and friendship. And so I think that says a lot just about who we are and how we treat our clients here.
Yeah. Well, so I want to end just by saying that, of course, not everyone who is pro-choice is going to agree with everything in this article. You know, we talked about lumping people together. We don't want to lump people together either. I know that this article does not represent everybody's perspectives, but I do think it represents a lot of common misconceptions. And so I hope today, as you're listening or watching, that you've been able to kind of think through some of those misconceptions with us. And at the end of the day, we want to challenge, you know, any listener, any woman who needs our services. Don't take at face value what's being said about us. Come see us, you know, come visit us. Our doors are always open. We invite people all the time to come by, just to see that we're the real deal. And, you know, we care about women.
I think with anything, at the end of the day, it's hard. You hear two different things. You hear this article and you hear what we're saying today. And so anybody, you or a friend or family, I would just challenge you to do your research, do your homework, and check out both sides and see what you think for yourself. Make a decision. Yeah, be fully informed, because that's the ultimate form of empowerment, I think. Having all the information you need and then making a wise, healthy choice, and then accepting help when it's offered to you. So, all right, well, thanks for joining us today. We hope you've enjoyed it. We'll be back soon with another episode. So if you haven't already, click subscribe. And if you need a summary of what we talked about, just take a look at the show notes and we'll have some other links in there for you as well. So thanks, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.